the Leon Charney Report. And now, here is your host, Leon Charney.
I've been used and abused, and I stood the test of time. If you're tired or poor, I get you to feeling fine. If you're insecure, I'm bound to reassure. Oh, why do they treat me mean, boys? I've been lifted.
So we thought you've had enough about Bibi Netanyahu and about the Middle East crisis and about Jews fighting Jews and Arabs fighting Jews, and we thought we'd bring on at least a partial entertainment show to make you relax a little bit. There's been too much politics going on, and you know, every so often we do that, and we have the best of the best today. We have Marilyn Michaels, who's a comedian, singer. You just heard her voice, and you'll see a little bit about how she's playing. Anyway, if you're in town, she's opening at Maxime's, which is on 60th and 3rd Avenue. It's a very, very special place. She's opening Tuesday night, so if you're free, go over there. If you're not free, make yourself free and go. Welcome, Marilyn.
Thank you, Leon.
Haven't seen you since Lou Jacoby and you and I and
Joe Franklin.
Joe Franklin,
right?
And Timmy Boxer.
Yeah, all those guys.
All those guys.
Yeah, boys club.
Did you get good response?
Tremendous. I mean, you know, you and Howard Stern. They say, I just saw you on Leon Charney. And Howard Stern, he comes after you. What can I tell you?
I have no private parts.
Absolutely. I mean, people watch, and they watch you. I said, I got to come back on the show.
So, Marilyn, you're an old hand at show business. By the way, Marilyn's the niece of a very famous cantor called Moshe Osher, and if you're Jewish and you had a Seder last weekend, if you had a good cantor, he sang Chad Gadyo, which is a real... I guess it's unique. No one can do it like he does.
No one, never. I couldn't even begin to attempt to sound like my Uncle Moshe or my mother Friedele, because they're one of a kind, you know. I mean, you talk about Judy Garland, then you talk about Friedel Osher or Lena Horne or whoever are the greats in their particular area or their field.
When did you start in show business?
I was 7, and I told Mama used to go on tour. She was traveling, going on tour. You're an actress, you have to travel. I said, Mommy, if you keep going on tour, I'm never going to eat again. This is the worst thing you could tell a Jewish mother, that you're not going to eat. Or any mother, for that matter. So as soon as I was old enough, no, actually, I was 7 and a half, she took me on stage with her. And it was the tail end, and I mean the tail end of the Yiddish theater, because I was just a baby. And I got my stage legs working with my mother.
So you started in Yiddish theater?
Yeah, I mean, just at the very end.
Like Mike Burston?
That's right, like Mike, yeah.
Lillian Lux?
Exactly. I was at Mike's bar mitzvah. I mean, we hung out together.
Really?
Mike and me and Brucey Adler. Do you know Bruce? He's very gifted.
He's very
gifted actor. And we were all babies growing up together. So
Joel Grey?
Joel Grey, yes.
Son of
Joel's
Mickey Katz.
older than I am by a lot, but
his father was Mickey Katz.
Sure. Seeing all this progeny of... And I'm friendly with people like, you know, Liza is my friend, and Lucy Arnaz, and it's sort of the second generation of these incredible women, you know, Lucille Ball and Garland and all these terrific people.
Your mother sang mainly Yiddish, or she did? Hebrew.
My mother was the first, she was a trailblazer, female cantoress that ever was.
That's right, she's great.
Phenomenal voice.
Friedel Osher.
And they wouldn't let her go to the pulpit to sing because that was out of the question, you know. But she would do what a man does, cantorial, with that same incredible brilliance. And she did it on stage. And she had shows written for her to perform and to sing that. And with comedy and music, it was a little of everything.
If Moshe Osher were alive today, what kind of prominence would he have? He'd be a world-famous singer, or do you think he'd still be in a cantorial mode?
Well, even in the cantorial mode, like, you know the name Yossele Rosenblatt, of course, okay. But those in the musical circles, or in cantorial circles, and they cross over, you know, opera, my uncle sang opera and so forth. So he is known in operatic circles.
He sang in the opera? I never knew
Of
that.
course, he sang opera. And so he was known as this incredible voice. So they all know each other.
So you mean he paved the way for Tucker and Pierce?
Yes, there were coterie of friends. Robert Merrill, Roberta Peters, Jan Pierce, Richard Tucker,
Right.
Moisha, my mother Fredela. It was a golden era. That was really before me. I was just a baby
No, you
at
grew
that
up
point.
with them. You heard it all. It's like
All of it, yeah.
the Kennedys growing up in the White House.
You bet. You
sort
better
of get
believe
the
it.
gossip.
They'd come over after the show on a Saturday night, and they'd sit down, and they had to sit there because I'd entertain. And when I was 4 years old and I'm entertaining, my mother wouldn't let them move. They were strapped to their seats.
I knew Richard Tucker pretty well. I knew Jan Pierce very well. All of them wanted to be great cantors.
And
Now,
they
Tucker,
were.
Tucker
Tucker
had
was
a
a great
great high note, but he couldn't dray, like, I don't know how you say dray.
Yeah.
He couldn't move the voice as much,
Yeah.
jiggle it as much.
It's called a coloratura.
Coloratura. He couldn't do it as,
Yeah.
he couldn't do that as much as Moshe Oisha.
Well.
No one could do that.
Well, nobody could do it
And
like
I think
Moshe.
you're born with that, aren't
Yes,
you?
yes. It's a great gift. Just as it is, and some of our great black entertainers, Aretha Franklin, and who do that same kind of thing, only they do it black. You know, but it's that same flexibility. It takes the same kind of soul to do it right.
Your grandfather was a cantor?
My grandfather and my grandfather's grandfather, and way back
Really?
on both sides of my family. My father's father was the great basso profundo in Europe, and here in this country his name was Yossel Bass. They called him Joseph the Bass. He was quite fantastic, and my dad, Harold, who sang with the Metropolitan Opera for many years, was called by George Gershwin. He kind of dubbed him Shalyapin. And you know, Shalyapin, to some of our viewers, was a great legendary basso, opera basso. So that's how Daddy sang. I mean, I come from this long line of operatic. So how did I get involved with comedy and impressions and,
how did you do that?
and singing? Because my father said, let her do popular music. She'll make more money. And my mother wanted me to sing opera, and my father went out. And I think I had a tendency. I had a proclivity to do Gershwin and Porter and Harold Arlen and Rodgers and Hart and all these greats. And that's what I really wanted to do. So that
You have a cassette that we played a little bit of.
Voices.
How many voices do you do on that cassette?
maybe 70 or so.
Really?
Lots of different characters, darling. And then when I did Funny Girl, when I got out of school and I got the Funny Girl, Barbara Streisand was doing it here in New York.
I would say that she got annoyed, probably. All right?
She wasn't too thrilled. She wasn't too thrilled about the entire thing. You know what I'm
Jackie
talking
Mason
about.
doesn't mind.
Jackie Mason, he loves it. He says, you kept me alive all these years. The 50 years, fantastic. I have to remind them, I'm going to do all this at Maxime's, April 29th through May 3rd. Such a beautiful place. Very French, owned by Pierre Cardin. The same as the Maxime's in Paris.
Where did you learn to do that? How do you learn to do that stuff?
You don't. I mean, you do
I
it.
asked David Fry the same question. Remember David
Yes,
Fry?
I just saw him in Florida.
Is he still working?
Yeah, he is.
He was very good with one of the presidential people.
Yes, he used to do Nixon.
Nixon,
He
that
used
was
to
his
do
big
Nixon.
thing.
Right.
And the other guy, what's his name? Rich Little.
Rich Little. They're all my friends. We worked together on a show called The Copycats in the 70s, which brought me into, I guess, national prominence, because it was a national show on ABC, and it was a great experience, working with people like Orson Welles and Sammy Davis, and it was a thrill to be involved with that.
I brought Sammy Davis to Israel for the first time.
Did you really?
In the early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And he got off the plane, and he started to hug me after he had a little bourbon and Coke.
Uh-huh.
And he says, baby, baby, I'm in my homeland. I said, no, this is Israel, not Nepal. He says, no, I converted. I'm a Jew.
I know.
At a place the country went crazy for him, absolutely crazy.
See, I started
Can you imitate
out,
Sammy?
No, I never did Sammy, but I worked
What
with
kind
him.
of fool am I?
I was lucky to work with him. And he was my idol, so to speak, because I started out with him on a show called Hullabaloo on NBC in the late 60s. And this was a thrill to work with Sammy and to work with Dean Martin and to work with Don Rickles and Alan King. I mean, these were the glory days. Before the show started, we were talking about Las Vegas
Right.
and what it was like then. It's very commercialized now. But when I began, it was the glory days. I mean, there was nothing like it. Well, they have that new film that they have. It's an old film that they're showing about the Rat Pack. You know?
Yeah, you're right.
There was nothing like that. It was a thrilling time. I mean, it's different times now. Those times will never come again.
Most people don't know it, but Don Rickles is a very nice man.
He's very
sweet. I met him. He's a sweet guy.
I know.
Very Jewish guy. And he's very involved. I mean, everybody thinks he's a caustic, tough guy. He's not at all.
I know. I'm gonna ruin his image. He's a very nice man. He's a family man, and so is Howard Stern. But no one believes me about Howard Stern.
I saw the movie and I thought it was very good, and I thought it showed him. And every time I see him doing a live performance or going on television show, he's a good man. I mean, he's a very nice man. He's a family guy.
Yeah, and he comes
His wife is a social worker or something like that. And
she is the sweetest lady in the world. And he's a wonderful, devoted husband. And he's going to hate me for saying this. This is a character that he plays.
Have you done a show?
Yeah, a lot.
Do you have to take off any scarves?
No, but he makes remarks.
Really?
I mean, he makes remarks. He's not like you, Leon. You know what I mean? He's totally off the wall. But we get along really well. He sort of frees me. And
Really?
He gets me a little crazy. But I'm
it?
very good with him. Yeah. I work great with him.
The woman who works with him, she's very good.
She's terrific.
What's her name?
I forgot.
Givens? No.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
She's terrific.
Yeah, she's terrific.
If you had a pick,
they're great.
you had a pick, the 5 best entertainers you ever worked with in your life, who would they be?
Well, entertainers. It would always be. I mean, Sammy Davis would always
number one.
Yeah, he would always had my list, and it would be Judy Garland, and it would be Frank Sinatra would be in there. I mean, now you can see where my head is at, you know.
Boy, that's good.
And I mean, I think that Michael Jackson is a very brilliant talent, but there's no nose. He has no nose left. They drilled it away. You know, why do you do a thing like that to yourself? My God, I can understand a little nip, a little tuck, but to remove yourself totally.
I was at a hotel yesterday. We were both, I and Cindy Adams spoke, not together. She spoke in one period, and I spoke another period. And she talked about Barbra Streisand.
Right.
And she said that the woman has so much talent, but she's a little bit cold and a little bit upset about everything that happens.
You know, I have a tendency to defend Barbra Streisand, because I admire her tremendously. She has a great talent.
That's what she said. She's a genius.
She's a great talent. She's a great singer. She's a powerful woman. I mean, how many women live to get to be that powerful, especially in Hollywood, where you're playing that game? It's an amazing thing. What does it take to become that? It must take a single-mindedness, a purpose, a dedication, an obsessive, compulsive personality, and an ambition, and an egomania. It has to have. It has to.
We had on this show Rosalind Kind, her sister.
Sweet woman.
Great.
An neshama, a real.
She does Havdalah every week, which is the separation service between the Sabbath and the weekday.
She's such a good person.
And she sounds a little bit like Barbra Streisand.
She sounds a lot like Barbra when she sings, but they're two totally different people, you know.
Yeah,
I met Barbra when I did Funny Girl. I did the National Company while Barbra was doing it in New York at the Winter Garden Theater. So they made we should meet. The directors brought us together, We should meet. So we were both nervous about meeting each other. And I was but it was very nice. It was very interesting. But it was interesting because I remember I was standing next to her. We went to the movies and we were talking. And at that time, a reporter came over. And I was sort of the new kid on the block. So the reporter took the microphone and he put it in front of my face. He wanted to ask me about myself. And Barbra Streisand, you could feel her whole being go like this.
Really?
Yeah, that's the insecurity of a performer, you know.
You know what it is? If you have a Jewish nose, you suffer for most of your life, unfortunately.
So she had a choice.
She could have changed it.
She could have changed it. I changed mine. She could have changed hers.
I could never tell. You look like a shiksa to me. All right, we got to cut for a commercial. We'll come right back with Barbara Walters, and we give up with Marilyn Michaels, and then we'll see Barbra Streisand, and then some other people. You'll be shocked to see who you see. We'll be back.
I'm lonely and I need at my teeming shore. I'm tired of liberation. I need some conjugation.
Oh, I might as well do some impressions. Would you like that? It's either that or the Gettysburg Address. All right, I'll tell you what, we'll start off with Ethel Merman, the great Ethel Merman, all right, Dan? One singular sensation, every little step she takes. One thrilling combination, every move that she makes. But you see, if Dinah Shore sang the same song, it would be so different, because it would just sound so wonderful and so fantastic. One smile and suddenly nobody else will do. You know you'll never be lonely with you. No, that is wonderful. Isn't that wonderful? Wonderful. Now, Mae West was so sexy, and she sang the same song. It would be very sexually oriented. One moment in my presence, and you will forget the rest. 'Cause my second best to my song. Oh my, is that a pistol in your pocket, or you're just happy to see me? Oh. Give me all attention to I really have to mention that man was the one. Lena Horne, okay? One singular sensation every step she takes. One thrilling combination every move that she makes. Now Diana Ross sang the same thing. She reminds you of one of those little dolls that bob up and down in your car, you know, those little rubber dolls. Ah, yes. Ah, yeah. Yeah. I'm smiling, suddenly nobody else will dare. Yeah, no, you'll never love me.
This is Barbara Walters, and we'll be in touch, so you'll be in touch. Whenever I do her, I start to talk like Georgie Jessel, and I don't even know why. This is the strangest thing whenever I do. I'd rather do your editor there, Andy. He talks like with Polish accent. He's terrific. Marilyn, I see you. You're so great. I love it. I think he's doing Meryl Streep.
How about Dr. Ruth?
Well, Dr. Ruth, she's really terrific, you know, and she's very cute. And I wanted to know about your sex life, Leon. I hope everything is all right.
You know, at Maxine's, I'm going to be doing an Oscar roundup, which means, and I can't do it because I can't give it away. I'm like Woody Allen. I can't give my laughs away. But what it is I'm really going to be skewering Madonna and Barbara Streisand at the Oscars. You know, when Celine Dion sang her song, she wasn't there.
Right.
She was in the bathroom. So we're going to be doing that.
During the Oscars, you think that was premeditated?
I don't think she just had to go to the bathroom. When you have to go, you have to go. That was it.
I'll tell you a story about the Oscars.
Tell me.
An ex-client of mine, a former client, not ex, got an achievement award that very few people know it.
Who's that?
His name was Michael Kidd.
But
do you know that he was Philly Greenwald's brother?
I do know that.
Very few people know it.
I do know
Philly
that.
Greenwald, most people don't know who Philly Greenwald was.
Tell your audience.
He was the booker at the Concord Hotel.
Yes.
He was he was a great character.
Yes, he was.
He
was a Damon Runyon.
A Damon Runyon character.
Yeah.
And a personal friend of mine, and I had a great time with him. And his brother was Michael Kidd, very famous choreographer. Won about 7 Tonys on Broadway.
Right.
7 Brides for 7 Brothers.
Yes.
And he won this great award.
And can you believe that?
No,
Philly Greenwald and Michael Kidd?
It's hard to believe.
I mean, separated at birth?
I once won a case for Philly Greenwald against Barry Gray. Barry Gray called him a slob. And Philly asked me to represent him. I said, but truth is a defense. He's going to win, because basically, Philly, you're a slob. He said, I know, but let's fix it. And Barry Gray settled. You know why? We took the case in Sullivan County.
That was it. He wasn't going to win.
He wasn't going to go anymore.
Absolutely.
Anyway, Michael Kidd is one of the
Michael
greats.
Kidd did all the MGM,
greats.
musicals. I guess it was the late 50s, the early 60s. Some of the greats that my son now. Oh, by the way, my son Mark was bar mitzvahed.
Mazel tov.
It was a big success.
Mazel
We
tov.
broke even.
Mazel
It was
tov.
terrific.
Broke even.
Got you. I made Leon Charney laugh. I love it. It was really
So you want
something.
to continue? Should we talk like this? Or
So,
you want to go the
that's
other way? I
enough
can
of
do
that.
whatever you
That's
like.
enough. My kid is terrific. He's talented because he has my musical genes, and his father, Peter, who is a surgeon, he has his scientific genes. So he has the best of both of us.
So would you rather he be a surgeon or a singer?
I like him to be a singing surgeon.
There are many. There was an eye doctor named Kellner,
Yes.
who did both.
Kelman, I think.
Right. He used to come and do shows. He used to pay people to put him on.
That's right.
And then he used to do eye surgery.
That's right. That's right. Charlie Kelman, I
Right.
think.
4 people in the audience were blind.
Show business is not a business for a man. As an actor, I mean, unless you're going to be a Paul Newman or a Spencer Tracy or a great like a Laurence Olivier. Or you asked me about
Well,
my
look
greats,
what happened
my
to
favorite entertainers.
wait. Sonny Bono.
Sonny Bono's a politician.
He's a congressman.
Absolutely.
Became a mayor.
Good for him.
Clint Eastwood became a mayor.
Good for him.
Some guy named Ronald Reagan became president of the United States.
That's what happens to actors
Bad
now.
actors, at least.
That's right.
I mean, how bad could it be? Look at this guy. He's got a great shot now, this Thompson.
Uh-huh.
The guy who was
Yes, that's right.
The Red October, the
That's
hunt for
right.
Red October.
Yeah.
I make a prediction. He could be the presidential nominee for the Republican
My
Party.
husband said the same thing.
So
he
we
believes
agree.
that. True.
I
You know,
agree.
I used to be very over to, I was to the left of Trotsky, when I was a kid, and everybody, all the Jews were like all the way to the left. And as I grew older and older, I just started to go more and more to the right. So
you're a right-winger now?
I don't know, not
You
with
like
women's
Bibi.
issues.
Have you been to Israel?
Never. I'm a coward.
So what
Where they fight, where there's gunfire, when there's shooting and bombing, leave me out of that.
Really? You don't like
I'd rather go to the A&P.
Is that right?
Bermuda's nice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but someone like you.
Someone like me, that's
Can't
it. I'll
pass you
sing,
st-
I'll make a great Seder.
Right.
But to go where there's bombing, forget about it. Forget about it, Leon. I'm not going. I was married to an Israeli, and I still didn't go. He says, "How can you not see my country?" I
You
said,
were
"Well,
married
they
to Israel?
Oh yes, first
entertainer?
time. An Israeli interior designer.
How'd you get stuck
But it
with-
didn't work. You know
how'd you
why?
get stuck with
Do you
that?
know why?
Why?
Because there's just so much you could do with sand.
How about Cher? Did you ever do Cher?
Hey, I just did it. It's just so great and everything, I mean, Sonny is into that, but I'm into getting, surgery on my breasts and my tattoo and everything. Woo, woo, woo. Was I married to you? Wow.
No. She looks good, though, Sonny.
Oh, she's great. I mean, she's had a lot of surgery,
Cher?
Cher, a lot.
You think women should have plastic surgery?
Of course. I'm waiting. I have to leave here, as a matter of fact. I haven't had anything done yet. How do I look? Oh, not bad.
Okay.
I think when the time comes, within reason. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not like Michael Jackson or some of these people who just... My husband said there's a certain disease called Munchausen disease. Do you know any? Have you ever heard of anything like that?
No.
Because you know everything, Leon.
I don't know everything.
Okay. That's a certain condition where people feign illness to have surgeries.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
I know
It exists. It's like taking hypochondria to, outlandish proportions.
All right, but that's an important topic.
And there are people who do that.
I saw Michael Jackson in Israel. 200,000 people came to see him. I mean, he gathers crowds from all over the world. I flew on the
absolutely.
Concorde with him.
Yeah.
He comes on with a mask,
Oh, Michigas.
and he's got about 20 bodyguards with him.
This is a
What
total Michigas.
what kind of life is this?
This is it. This is it. It's like, now, I worked with Michael Jackson. It's so funny because I worked with him on the Ed Sullivan Show when it was the Jackson 5, and he was a little boy. He was a baby. And I went over and I took that beautiful face in my hands, and I just, you could tell even as a child that he was very, very special. But then he grew up and, Michigas, totally crazy.
Did you enjoy Broadway, Catskills on Broadway?
Catskills on Broadway was a fabulous experience because all my life I dreamed of being on Broadway. And thanks to Ken Greenblatt and Freddie Roman, they put me in that show, and I helped to make it a big hit, and I made a lot of money. And what could be bad, darling? I got an Outer Critics Circle Award, a Drama League Award
Really?
for that show. Yes. As a matter of fact, the Maxime's engagement, April 29th. This is on Tuesday when I opened for 1 week.
Right.
This is my first engagement in New York for a long, long time.
Really?
Yeah. I was in Jersey. I was in Florida for 2 months. I've been in Florida working constantly. So, but New York has a special excitement to it. There's
Now,
nothing
would you
like-
consider yourself a singer more than a comedian, or more a comedian than a comic? The singer.
First and foremost, a singer, and as you know, because you know my family background. But more and more, I rely upon comedy. I do a lot of stuff off the top of my head, and a lot of starting to do more and more stand-up, because people want to laugh.
A lot.
They want to have a good time.
A lot.
Yeah, and I'm there to entertain you.
So what do you think of these night hosts now? Leno, Letterman, Mahar, politically incorrect. It's a different world. What did you do? Carson, Merv Griffin, probably, right?
Oh, yes.
Mike Douglas.
Oh, of course. I mean, I was on Mike's show constantly. And Merv Griffin was just wonderful to me.
Bob Shanks.
All of
I
my
remember
life.
his producer.
Bob Shanks.
I remember the producer.
A great
book
producer.
Jackie Mason on that show.
Yeah, all these great guys.
So what?
The
It's
business has changed,
There's
and
new comedy. You have to be dirty.
you have to be. That's part of it. There's an openness now that we'd never had. I mean, the first time I did Hullabaloo with Sammy Davis, and we kissed at the end of it. They stopped the tape.
Really?
Yeah, and Gary Smith and Dwight Hemian, who are the greatest of television variety producers and directors, came running over to me. They took me over on the side. They said, "You can't do that." I said, "Well, what is it?" They said, "You can't do that. We lose the South." And that was it. We had to do it. I can't believe that. I lived through that. But it's true. Can you imagine?
Mayor Dinkins was on this show and told me as a Marine with an American uniform on, an Army uniform, he couldn't ride in the front of the bus in Washington, D.C. It's terrible. I mean, we went through Jackie Robinson now, who happened to be a client of mine at one time in his life.
Really?
He's a wonderful man.
Yes.
And the progenitor of his entry into sports was Joe Louis, who was a client of mine for a long time.
Right.
So we're in a changed world,
It's a
Marilyn.
different world now. But I can say that I miss Johnny Carson. I mean, he was a master. And he probably still is a master, and was very wise to leave as graciously and as, as he was eloquent. He was fast. He was charming.
Was it tough to get onto that show? Was it tough?
No, not for me. At that time, I did the show with fair frequency, actually.
I
Johnny
believe
was
that
on.
the Ed Sullivan reruns would do very well. He had some great talent.
We had Ed Sullivan reran 2 shows. They reran the comedy show, which I was on
Good ratings?
CBS. Shecky was on.
Shecky Green.
And I said, why am I watching this? I'm not going to be on this. And there I was. I was
Really?
on it. And
Did you get royalty?
I did.
Thank God. I got nervous otherwise. You get nervous when
I
you get
did.
royalty.
It was just wonderful,
Shecky was a great comic.
He still is.
He
He's
lost
great.
his voice, then it came back. Am I right?
Yeah, well, he was a Meshuggah. You have to have some discipline with whatever you do, whether it's show business, with the stock market, whatever you do, you have to have some focus, I think, to survive. I mean, I consider myself a survivor.
Well, he married he told me, he married an Oriental woman or something.
He married everything. He married a turkey, he married a frog, whatever would come along, he'd marry it. He saw it, if it moved, he married it.
That's what Larry King does.
That's true,
He
too.
books his guest or he marries them, one way or another.
That is true.
So let me ask you a question. I mean, you haven't been to Israel, but like all Jews, you have an opinion.
I will get that.
You have an opinion.
Yeah.
You think that Bibi should be governing the country now or not?
Here's my feeling about it. I don't think they want to have peace. I mean, correct me on this. How do the Arabs want to have peace? That there's such constant bloodshed. We try to make it. I mean, if you give, it's a situation. If you give a hand, they want an arm, and if you give an arm, they want the whole thing. And if you give the whole thing, they're going to push you into the sea, my love.
So she's got the whole Likud party of the USA going to see her at Maxim's this Tuesday night.
No politics, only jokes.
And the Labor Party, you come on Wednesday night and try to convince her to go the other way. We'll come right back after commercial.
I've had
And
such
then
so
we
much
have
fun.
Hyam Maccoby, who's an intellect from England, who has a play opening in New York City at the American Jewish Rep. We'll bring him back.
Sweet and loving, maturing and enduring. My hot and juicy, oh, you know it when you see my
We're back. We got 1 second with Marilyn. She's got to leave to do her dress rehearsal.
Yeah.
She's opening at Maxime's
Right.
on Tuesday night. She goes till Saturday night.
Yeah, I'm going to tell Barbara Streisand, forgive your mother already. Get off it. I mean, grow up. You know what I mean?
Marilyn, thanks a million for coming on. We'll try to see you in personam, as we say in good Latin.
Thank you, sweetheart.
And have a good time.
Thank you.
And come back whenever you have a chance.
I will. Absolutely, I will.
We'll be back with Hyam Maccoby. We don't want to make a mistake. And he has written a play about the Disputation, Spanish business, and interesting Christian and Jew. Don't leave us.
Found the letter you wrote me on the radio, and they told the world just how you felt.
We're back. You laughed with Marilyn Michaels, and you heard us sing, and now we're going to get a little bit serious now, and not that serious, but I think important, because we have with us Hyam Maccoby, who is an English writer who's written a brilliant play called The Disputation. We'll talk more about it. But why is it important? Because it gets into the relationship between Christian and Jew, which is probably 80% of my audience right now. Hyam, welcome to the show. You use Hyam or Hyman?
Hyam.
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 Life.
Yeah, it's life. Hyam.
Hyam, life, and Maccoby. Boy, it's a nice name.
Hyam Maccoby is a great Jewish name.
Is that your real name?
It is that's the name I was given at birth. Actually, my name is my grandfather's name, who was Hyam Maccoby, who was known as the Kamenitzer Maggid. He was a great preacher.
From what?
From Russia.
Russia.
Yes. So my family all come from Russia, and my wife's family come from Russia as well.
And your father was born in England, or
My father was born in England. My mother was born in Russia. My father was a mathematician. He had a double first in mathematics at Cambridge University, but he went to live in an Orthodox community where he became the leading teacher in the local grammar school, as we call it in England. But he was a Talmudist, an amateur Talmudist. He taught me Talmud.
Really?
Yeah.
But you're a scholar.
Yes,
You've written how many books on?
I've written
on
10
Jews?
books.
Wow.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about each one.
Well, one of them was called Revolution in Judea. It was published in England, later republished in America, which is a Jewish view of Jesus.
Really?
And in which I put forward the view that Jesus was a very Jewish person who was misrepresented after his death as a rebel against Judaism, but in fact he was aiming to be the Mashiach in the
Messiah.
Jewish sense, which means he wanted to be the king. He claimed that he was descended from King David and King Solomon. He had the right to be the king of Israel, but to make that claim was rebellion against Rome.
And how was Jesus born?
He was born in the normal way. Later on, a legend was developed that he was born miraculously, born of a virgin, that the Messiah had to be born of a virgin, that his father was God himself. Well, that was not the way people thought of him in his lifetime. In his lifetime, he was simply the son of Joseph and Mary.
What was the Christian reaction to this book?
Well, there were many positive reactions, and there were many negative reactions. It was a very controversial book.
Obviously. Did you get a review?
I got hundreds of reviews.
And most were positive?
Some were positive, some were very negative, some were in between. There were definitely, it aroused emotions.
Oh, it's tremendous.
Yes.
You know, there is a segment of the Lubavitcher Hasidim who claim that the Lubavitcher Rebbe was the Mashiach. So how would they look upon your book?
Well, I think they would look on it quite favorably. Actually, I'm in touch with some of the Lubavitch movement. I know them very well. And they're very pleased with me because I said that the kind of belief that they have in their Lubavitcher Rebbe is similar to the belief that Jews had about Jesus in his lifetime. In other words, that he was a human being who was the Mashiach. I don't see anything objectionable in Jewish terms in believing that a Jew is fulfilling the prophecies of the Tanakh and he is claiming to be the Mashiach.
Tanakh is the Bible.
Yes.
So your book on, when was that published?
It was first published in England in 1973 and it was republished in America in 1980.
By whom?
In America by a firm called Taplinger.
A fascinating book.
Yes, well...
So what was Jesus? A rabbi, basically?
No, he wasn't, in my view, he started off his career aiming to be a prophet, because he started off by saying the very same thing that John the Baptist said, that he had come, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. So he was prophesying the coming of the Messiah. Then at a certain climactic moment in his career, it certainly it came across him, I am the Messiah whom I've been prophesying about. And he was encouraged in that by his disciple Peter, and from that time onwards he went straight to his death, because to claim to be the Messiah meant that he was pitting himself against the power of Rome, and that's why he ended on a Roman cross.
But during that period, would Jesus be a Jewish name?
Yes, it certainly was. Jesus simply comes from the Hebrew name Yehoshua, which in English we pronounce as Joshua.
Right.
It was a later form of it was Jesus, the same name.
Fascinating. I'm sure you got a lot of mail on that book.
I'm still getting mail. They're still writing about it on the internet.
It's a fascinating book.
It's a book which has circulated.
All right, I'm afraid to ask, what was your next book?
My next book actually was about the disputations, and this is how I got into. In 1982, I published a book called Judaism on Trial, which was not just about the Barcelona disputation, which is the subject of my play, but about 3 disputations, including the Barcelona disputation, the Paris disputation, Barcelona disputation, and the Tortosa disputation.
How would you explain a disputation?
A disputation is simply a debate which was forced on the Jews. They didn't want to do it. They didn't have the idea of doing it.
Forced debate.
Christian compulsion to attend this debate for the purpose of converting them to Christianity.
All right, we're going to get back to the disputation, because it's going to be a play, or it is a play. It's going to appear at the American Jewish Rep Theater from April 26th for a run about a couple of weeks, right?
Right.
And it played in Los Angeles, where Hyam Maccoby won some awards for it in the Dramalog magazine, so it's a must to see. But I want to talk about his career before that, because this is a fascinating man. So after the disputation, or Judaism on Trial, what was your next book?
I wrote a book which created even a greater stir than Revolution in Judea, and that was called The Mythmaker. And it was about the person who I claimed was the real founder of Christianity as we know it, and that was Paul. Actually, recently a book has been published by a man called Andrew Wilson, who's taken over my idea, but I know him personally. But that was the book which put forward this view, that Paul was the real founder of Christianity, and that he turned it into a religion in which a Jewish human Messiah figure became God. Jesus himself, I claim, never claimed to be God.
Really? Peter was a disciple, right? Peter was a disciple?
Peter was his disciple, and Peter was the opponent of Paul. Peter continued with the idea of Jesus, which Jesus himself put forward, that he was a human Messiah, and that is why there was conflict in the early church. There were 2 forms of Christianity, one centered on Jerusalem with Peter as its leader, and James, who was actually the brother of Jesus, became the leader of it. Why the brother? This itself is a problem. Why did his brother become the leader? Not because he was one of the early disciples, he wasn't. The reason why he became the leader is because he was the brother, because Jesus claimed to be king. Who succeeds a king? His nearest relative. So that is, and if you look into the history of the early Jerusalem church, you find everyone who succeeded James was a relative of Jesus, because this was a monarchical movement.
Now I'll ask you a different question. How did the Jewish rabbinical people accept your books?
Well, actually, there has been a very warm reception to my books among Jews. Yes, the play actually didn't get such a warm reception from some Jews. There were some Jews who were very much involved in ecumenical activity who thought that my book was stirring up trouble. My play, rather, that my play was stirring up trouble.
But that's always the case when you're controversial.
Yes.
So I wouldn't worry about that.
The play is controversial.
People think that digging up Swiss bank accounts now is controversial to the Swiss. So
yes, I think Jews have got to assert themselves, even if it does cause a stir.
All right, we've been through Peter and Jesus. Now, what was your next book?
Well, out of that, I wrote a book of pure scholarship, which was called Early Rabbinic Writings, and this is based on my teaching, which I do at the Leo Baeck College, and it's published by the Cambridge University Press, and it consists of extracts from the earlier rabbinic literature. By earlier, I mean pre-Talmudic, that is the Mishnah, Tosefta, various writings which preceded the Talmud. And I wrote a commentary on each extract which I chose, and a long introduction of over 100 pages which explained...
That didn't stir anybody.
No, it's really a textbook. I mean, it's used at university.
We'll accept that. The next book.
Well, I did write a book which again was extremely controversial. It's called The Sacred Executioner. And this I regard, as a matter of fact, I regard this as my best book, because this book argues that the position of the Jews in the Christian myth, as I call it, is what gave rise to anti-Semitism. That the Jews were elected to the position of being what I call the sacred executioner. What I mean by that is wherever you get a religion where there is a sacrifice, a human sacrifice, somebody has to be the evil one who performs this sacrifice. The strange thing is the contradictory or paradoxical thing, the very person who brings about salvation is the one who has to be driven into the desert as an evil person. And that is, unfortunately, the position of the Jews in the Christian story, that they perform an essential role to bring about the death of the sacrifice which brings salvation, but they have to be blamed for it. So the community, Christian community, wash its hands. We didn't do it, the Jews did it, even though they're benefiting from it. So this is the theme of my book, The Sacred Execution. It comes into the play a little as well.
And who published that one?
That was published by the Thames and Hudson, a non-Jewish publisher, Thames and Hudson. And the book, again, caused a great stir. I was involved in a controversy about it, which involved Eugene Fisher, who is one of the great figures of Catholic ecumenism, of the trying to improve relations between. And this debate of mine with Eugene Fisher took place in New York at the CUNY, at the City University Graduate School. And it was later, that was another one of my books that was published. The whole debate was published as a book.
All right, next one.
Another one, right.
So you get tired of listing him, huh?
Yeah. Well,
but you're a fascinating man, and you're an intellectual man, and it's important for the public to hear you.
Well, this book was published again in England and America. It was called Judas Iscariot and the Myth of Jewish Evil. And this was published in America by the Free Press, and in England by a firm called Peter Halban. And in this book, I trace the story of Judas Iscariot, who was the betrayer of Jesus, and show how this story is not historically true, because it changed in the course of time. It started as a kind of a kernel of a story and then grew into a great myth. And that this story has a great deal to do with the growth of anti-Semitism, because Judas Iscariot, his name, even his name, reflects the Jewish people.
All right, hold it 1 minute, Doctor. We're going to go for a commercial break, come right back. He's fascinating. I mean, really gets into the guts of the, I don't know the problem, at least the history of the Jew and the Christian, and he really attacks it with an intellectual credential, something that's very, very important today. We'll be right back. We're back. We're talking to Dr. Hyam Maccoby, who's brilliant and has published 10 books on a lot of interesting topics. And why is it interesting? Because it affects Jew and Christian, which is half the world. Probably the next 10 years will attack the Muslims, not only by attack, but study them. Anyway, Hyam, what's the last book you have, A Pariah People?
Yes, it's called A Pariah People, and it's a study of anti-Semitism. How did anti-Semitism develop to such a point that there was a Holocaust? And the argument is that the Jews in the Middle Ages occupied the same position in Christian society that the untouchables occupy in India. They became a disadvantaged group who were nevertheless regarded as necessary to society, just as the untouchables in India take away all the guilt of impurity.
So why did we have a Holocaust?
Because anthropologically, if you put a stigma on a certain people, and then you remove that stigma, and then they're supposed to normalize themselves. The normalization of the stigmatized people produces more anger than when they were stigmatized in the first place. Because here are people who are regarded as inferior, and that has been burnt into the minds of people that they are inferior, and they're coming forward as normal people. In my opinion, the cause of the Holocaust was actually the Enlightenment, because the Enlightenment gave Jews freedom to enter all the professions, and this aroused a tremendous anger among the non-Jewish population. Here are people who are supposed to be inferior. All through the Middle Ages, they were pushed into the role of being inferior, untouchable.
So this gave rise to anti-Semitism?
This gave rise to a bitter anti-Semitism which was not restrained in the Middle Ages. The Jews